Hello, my name is John, and today on Monastery we're going to be talking about my first thoughts on Ruri Dragon. So let's get into it and find out what it's all about. This video will be using the first 5 volumes of Ruri Dragon, which is up to chapter 43, and using that as a basis for this video. The story goes that Ruri wakes up one day and finds out she has horns on her head. She later goes and speaks to her mother, who explains to her how she is half dragon. And now she has to go to school while dealing with this new situation. And while she is continuing to learn about her new abilities, problems are continually occurring within the school in relation to these abilities. The good things about the story is that the premise is very interesting. The concept of having an individual that is half dragon living this normal life in a high school college setting is very interesting because it allows for our normal lifestyle. What would that be like with a dragon element involved, or a person who is half dragon, and how would that affect our reality? So it's very interesting to get that sort of perspective on that concept in this story of Ruri Dragon. And the other big thing that I really enjoy about Ruri Dragon is that the idea of the dragon itself and the powers that they can have, such as normal things like fire, but as well as electricity, producing ice, and even poison potentially in this story. So it allows for different interactions with these elements to the story that allow for it to uniquely develop and change as the story progresses. The art in this story as well is very, very beautiful. You can literally see the different elements as they are being used within the story. So fire feels like you're right there, and the electricity when it goes around Ruri's body feels like you're also being electrocuted. However, the story does have a few issues within it that makes the story questionable and if not even possible to begin with. And the first big issue I have is, where are the parents? You literally have a dragon in the classroom with a bunch of other students, and in one chapter, Ruri, unbeknownst to her, literally produces fire, nearly burning the head of another student. And that wouldn't be any alarm to a parent. I mean, there probably would have been a call to the head office, there would have been some call to all of the parents, and the parents would have been in arms. There would have been a big fight or something like that. I mean, in reality, whenever there is an issue at a school on a very basic level, the parents are all in arms. Imagine a literal dragon type figure producing fire or electricity within a classroom. That is not normal, and that would mean that most parents would probably take their children out of the school, unless the child, in this case Ruri, was expelled or put in a different school. So this issue is not explained. The next big issue is, where is the government? You again have a dragon in a room with other students. Wouldn't the government want to research this to produce whether it be soldiers or other figures that can be half dragon? Wouldn't that be a possibility? So why are they openly admitting that there's a dragon in their room, or half dragon in this case, and saying, oh yeah, Ruri is half dragon, it's fine. Everyone knows about it, so where's the government going in and just taking her for research? The next big issue I have is with the world. How is there only one person that's half dragon? And how did the mother even meet the dragon in the first place to produce Ruri? So this is also not explained. And does this mean that the world is filled with very fantasy type creatures? Not only dragons, maybe there's werewolves, maybe there's goblins. Who knows? The world has not been explained. We only know about the school itself and at least Starbucks. So what other half breeds are there? Is it even possible? Is there elves even? What exists in the world we don't know? All we know is that Ruri is half dragon, and that isn't even fully explained to us yet. The backstory in this story is non-existent. No character gets any form of backstory before they were in high school, And on top of that, Ruri does not get any backstory before she got horns. What was her character like before she had horns? Was she sad? Was she happy? And did the horns and her finding out she's a half dragon actually affect her way of living to the point where she has changed completely in terms of her emotions? Nothing is explained of this, so we don't even know what she was like before. So none of the characters are rememberable, and also Ruri Dragon doesn't even have any form of character development past getting her horns. So half the story has already been passed for her, but we're only starting at the near middle of her story. And there is no character conflict. Even if there is a conflict, it gets resolved so quickly that there is no character that dislikes Ruri Dragon. They may have a problem with her in terms of her abilities affecting their way of living, but it gets cancelled so quickly that everyone's like, oh, Ruri Dragon's so good, oh, she's amazing, oh, thank you, Ruri, thank you. Come on, you're in a situation where there's a dragon. Aren't you going to be jealous of her maybe? Aren't you going to be wishing that I wish I could have that ability? There is none of that. It's all just basic, boring, the same. Everyone's doing the same thing. There's no form of conflict whatsoever. The story shows that Ruri is the best character in the story and no one else matters pretty much. And that is my first thoughts on Ruri Dragon. The story feels like initially it had a very good premise and the dragon abilities are very good, but there is still so much missing from the story, and so as you are reading it, it feels like more and more is missing and it just feels like nothing is happening and it gets more boring and repetitive. And so I feel like this manga is highly overrated. It's a very bland manga in reality. Once you strip away Ruri and the concept of her being a dragon, there isn't really much else to the story. And so there are also other problems in regards to this story, such as the author is going on another hiatus yet again for at least a month to 2 months based on their health. And the beautiful thing about this story is that it is getting an anime adaptation by Kyoto Animation in 2027, but the sad part is because of these hiatuses, it makes the story feel weaker and there are things that are missing because the health of the author is lacking. And so this is also going to, I believe, affect the anime because the story is not living up to what it could potentially have been. And so that is why, in my opinion, in my conclusion, that it is overrated. It is boring, repetitive, and doesn't really satisfy that slice of life need for whenever you are reading something that has elements of slice of life, as that is why you are reading to some degree Ruri Dragon, because it does these forms of elements that are slice of life, that provide you with different emotions. But if it isn't really satisfying that, then what type of story are you trying to produce when it comes to Ruri Dragon? And so I think if at least Ruri Dragon can produce some form of backstory for the character or open the world up to different forms of fantasy type like creatures, then we might have a very interesting story. Until then, things such as backstory, world building, and the inability to explain if there are other creatures in this world are what is making Ruri Dragon a bad story. However, that is my thoughts on Ruri Dragon. I want to hear what you think about Ruri Dragon. Is it good? Is it bad? And why? So please write that down in the comment section below. My name is John from Mono Story. If you haven't already liked, subscribed, press the bell button, please do so. If you want to watch another video, click up above. If not, until next time, I will see you on another Mono Story.